Hey guys, so today's video is super important for all Pokemon players, so make sure you listen up. The Nintendo eShop on the 3DS and Wii U is shutting down on Monday the 27th of March. And so in this video, I'm going to outline and explain every reason you need to act now if you don't want to miss out on certain exclusives, as there is a chance this will be the last time you'll ever be able to get hold of certain games and unique Pokemon that you can then transfer to your Switch. Firstly, this is the last chance you'll have to get an official digital version of many of the older main series Pokemon games. So if in the future you want to play the retro titles from Kanto and Johto on the go, it's time to make a purchase for these exclusives before it's too late. Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver and Crystal are all exclusively available on the 3DS eShop for $8.99 in the UK. Plus, spin-offs like Pokemon Link Battle, Puzzle Challenge, and the original TCG game for Game Boy Color are available too. When you transfer Pokemon from these retro games to Pokemon Bank, they always have a hidden ability. Plus, in Crystal for example, it's the only way you can catch a Celebi with the GS Ball event, outside of limited time events and distributions, or transferring one from Pokemon Go. You can also get digital versions at the moment of X and Y and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, plus Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon as well. But remember, you can still get physical copies of these games even after March, though they are becoming a little bit more expensive and a little bit more difficult to find, especially new. In fact, it is worth mentioning that you can still get hard copies of the older games too, if you've got the hardware for it, or maybe you still have your old copies like I do. But these cartridges are pushing 20 to 25 years old now, and whilst they might still work, they are so expensive to find if you don't already have an existing copy. Plus, it's kind of a safer bet to have a digital version on your 3DS or 2DS, which is a much newer piece of hardware. Plus, on the digital versions, you can transfer those Pokemon up to your newer games through Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home, whereas on these older Game Boy and Game Boy Color cartridges, they just are stuck on them forever. A few years ago, I actually lost my save data from this Pokemon Crystal cartridge right here, the one I had from when I was a kid. My save file from 2002 eventually just decided to die because of the internal clock inside this cartridge. Somewhere in here is my original Feraligatr, my Lugia, my Mewtwo, my Blastoise that I transferred from this Pokemon Red, which was my first Kanto game as well. I'm actually kind of hoping that one day they make some sort of technology where you can go into this piece of hardware and somehow rescue my old corrupted save file. Hey, Professor Turo, I'm looking at you. That's kind of awkward actually because he's dead, isn't he? Anyway, before you rush off and panic buy every single retro game on your 3DS, it's worth noting that the Switch eShop has recently introduced Game Boy and Game Boy Advance services, where right now you can play classic titles from those systems on your Switch. However, as of March 2023, there are a limited pool of titles available, and Pokemon main series games are not available. Yet. Now, there is absolutely no guarantee that the Pokemon games will come to Switch. However, in my opinion, it would be very surprising if they didn't arrive at some point in the next year or so. It would just be a smart business decision, as people would buy the hell out of it. This Game Boy service is a fairly new addition to Switch, and despite the Switch likely being very close to the end of its overall life cycle, recent leaks in the Pokemon community do imply that a new Switch Pro is around the corner. So it seems likely that even if this Switch Pro or Switch 2 does come out, the online services would continue under the Switch name, meaning this new Game Boy service will be around for another entire console lifecycle at a minimum, which is likely a minimum of 7 or so years. That's a lot of time to add the classic Pokemon games to the catalogue. Now, these sources are fairly reliable, but nothing is official, so just weigh up the risk. If you have some money to spend on the games and you really want them for your collection, go ahead and buy the ones you want. However, if you're on a budget and you don't think it's sensible, you can take some peace from the fact that the signs are there that they're going to bring them to the Switch or Switch Pro at some point. Now, this is another super important one. Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Transporter are only going to be available until the 27th of March as well, and it's vital to download them if you want to be able to send Pokemon all the way back from your GBA cartridge games, your DS and 3DS games, all the way up to the Switch games. You can do this if you have the right hardware, but if you don't download Pokemon Bank and Transporter now, you will never be able to do this. You only need to download the software rather than paying for the service, as the service is going to turn free after March. But you won't be able to download it after March, so just get them on your 3DS or 2DS and have them sitting there and you'll be fine. You can then just transfer your Pokemon from bank to home and get all your old Pokemon buddies to join in your Switch adventures and beyond into the future. And just as a disclaimer, that process is of course irreversible. Finally, the only current way you can get your own Ash Greninja is by completing the Sun and Moon playable demo and then transferring it to your Sun and Moon games or to bank. There is currently no other legitimate method to get one, so definitely download that before March the 27th too. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love to see you in my streams, which take place every Tuesday evening, plus other random evenings, so I'd be super grateful if you did hit the subscribe button and considered coming along. And of course, you'll also get to see all my video content on the latest Pokemon goodness. If I've missed anything in this video, let me know in the comments and I'll pin it so that everybody can see. But until next time, love you, gang.